Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom Bushell here from the iScrap app and Rockaway Recycling. And let it be known that while this is being broadcasted on Wednesday, April 16th, this was pre-recorded on Wednesday, April 9th, about an hour and a half after we did our regular weekly report. So what we want to be able to do today is talk about some of the tariffs, how they're going to affect things that could happen. We're going to answer some questions that we received over the last few days and today when we did the report. But let me just give you a quick recap of what I see happening over a 7-day period to give you an idea. What's happened with the tariff situation is unprecedented because it's never happened before. So what we saw the last 7 days were extreme market reactions, having large declines in copper prices, in steel, in oil, in stocks, in 401ks, etc. Now, during the weekly report, when we were actually filming it earlier today, it was announced that there's going to be a 90-day pause on all of the reciprocal tariffs on many countries. On the, what did I say? There's going to be non-reciprocal tariffs paused on 75 to 100 countries. Chinese were not spared. Because they retaliated, all of the tariffs are still on them. So we're not going to talk about them for this second. So now we have the tariffs paused in the last couple of hours. Again, we recorded this a week ago. And we saw the stock market go up 7.5%. We saw copper prices jump 27 cents in a matter of minutes. What does this mean? This means that many countries see that they want to be able to make a deal. And as many have already reached out or have flown to the United States, they want this tariff problem to resolve itself quickly because many of their economies rely on the strength of the United States economy. And they can see that the bigger picture of reciprocation or lessening of tariffs is only going to help economies grow. And my sister and I were talking about a couple of examples just a few minutes ago, and I'll give you one that's out there. India has large tariffs on United States autos. So I don't know the exact number. Let's just say it's 100%. I think it is something crazy like that. So F-150 in the US might cost $40,000. 100% tariff on that F-150 in India now costs $80,000 to buy it. So not many people are going to buy F-150s. And if you do, you're probably considered an elite or well off. Well, now what happens if the tariff goes to 10%? Now the United States cars going over are going to be for sale for $44,000, right? 10% of $40,000. So now other people can buy F-150s. What does that do? That causes bigger availabilities in worldwide markets, which could lead to a domino effect of United States workers getting more jobs. Ford needs more metal. That could increase the supply and the pricing on scrap because now we're exporting more autos because instead of being slapped with 25 to 100% tariffs on these cars, now they're only slapped with 10%. And it opens up the worldwide market in a way that you haven't seen before. When I've traveled overseas, I've always noticed how few American vehicles there are in those local markets, whether it's been Europe or other places like South America that I've been to. In the United States, you see cars from all over the world. You see German cars, South Korean cars. You see cars from all different places in Europe, Land Rovers. So when you see Japan, Toyota, right? You see all of this hodgepodge of vehicles in the country. And if you make them in the United States, there's no tariffs because they're made here. But now by lessening the tariffs, what may end up happening is a broad strokes rising global market that opens up a lot of things to a lot of people with relatively low barriers to entry, where currently those tariffs act as large barriers to entry because other countries don't want American-made products there, but they want to sell their stuff to the US. So you can't have, what's the phrase? Have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't do those things. And now they're trying to share the cake amongst other people. So that's kind of what I'm looking at from a tariff perspective. Short-term pain, long-term major gains, in my opinion. The scrap markets, I think, are going to really benefit from this because you're going to see more United States companies producing more United States products, and for the first time selling them overseas at levels you haven't seen before. Win, win, win. But I do want to answer some of the questions that we received so I can give you a better idea on some of my reactions. Go ahead, Virginia. What should we do with drill bits, milling, and other wear parts that aren't carbide or rare earth? Should we separate them from our regular steel? So not tariff related. You should always separate carbide and tungsten-based alloys from your regular steel, and contact the team at rrcarbide.com to be able to get a free bin and free shipping to sell those. You never want to mix tungsten with steel. That's always going to be a loss. The scrapyard's never going to pay you more, but be careful. Tungsten and carbide have magnetic properties, so don't let it fool you when you put that magnet on. Check out some of the videos we have. Next question. What's behind the continued converter price dip? Gold is consistently on the up. Why not other precious metals? Gold has always been a safe haven for investors. That's why Fort Knox has gold bars. They don't have rhodium bars. Gold is more readily available than some of these other metals. It holds value better than some of these other metals. And these other metals, platinum, palladium, and rhodium, are generally used for one industry. Catalytic converters, little bit of jewelry side of things, but one industry. Gold can be used in jewelry, electronics, and as a way to store value, generally one of the reasons that we've seen this. Next question. Do you have any thoughts on how robotics, AI are affecting scrap prices? I assume gold, copper, and aluminum are being used the most. So robotics and AI, of course, they're going to need chips. They're going to need aluminum for the lightweight and the durability of it. And those will be increased. But don't forget, we're talking about weight. How much weight are those robots going to need? Well, they're going to need to be built once. They're going to need parts to get serviced. But outside of that, there's not a huge demand. Once factories are built, you just need to service those things. So it's more of a one-time Band-Aid rip to get a lot of those materials into factories, and then you just replace in little bites. So I don't expect those things to really spur a huge economic rally. I look more for reciprocity. I look for growth outside of the United States to spur the markets going up. Hopefully that helps the question. Other news that we've seen, a lot of people are worried that the tariffs are going to really hurt the scrap metal industry for a while. I told you many times, I believe these are short-term pain points that will be followed by longer periods of growth. And by seeing what we've seen just today, again, this was recorded a week ago, we see the markets looking to make deals and make money. Markets don't like pain. Pain brings on recessions. Recessions bring on lower wages. They bring on higher unemployment. And no country in the world, especially the United States, wants those things to happen to their countries or to the people that reside in them. So hopefully what we're going to start to see are negotiations, tactics, and growth points. Another question. When does a wire become too thin to consider stripping? Where is the line? Great question. It all is an opinion-based thing, but generally the wires that come from like extension cords or smaller, those have very finely braided copper inside. So when you strip them, you cut those copper wires and it makes it hard to recover all of them. So if you open something like an extension cord and see a bunch of really small pieces of copper in there, that's when I would draw the line. THHN 10 gauge and above is where I would strip it. It's one solid conductor. In my opinion, that's a better way to do it. One more question. While gold prices have increased, e-scrap prices have remained at 2024 third quarter pricing. Can you explain why e-scrap doesn't keep up with current gold prices? Don't forget that electronic scrap today is built with less gold, less silver than ever before. They've been able to utilize aluminum and copper to replace a lot of these circuits in many of the day-to-day products. What do I mean? Microwaves, ovens, televisions. While these all have boards inside of them, in the past they would have more gold than they do today. And don't forget about consumer electronics. Everyone used to have big computer towers. Now you have little things like iPads, right? This probably has more capacity than the computer tower I used to have. That computer tower would have a circuit board with lots and lots of gold on it, more circuits, more gold. Now those are smaller circuits, less gold, and substituted by other metals like aluminum and copper. So while gold prices have risen, unless you have high gold bearing items like memory or CPU chips or server boards, you're not going to see the values increasing, and that's just because the metals aren't there. So scrappers, today is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. Again, this was pre-recorded 1 week ago on the 9th. I don't know what's going to happen in the next week with these tariffs. So hopefully some of the answers I gave you were able to answer some of the questions that you've been thinking of. But if you do have more questions, let us know. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page and become a YouTube member of ours so you can get our early released videos before other scrappers would. My name is Tom Bushell from the iScrap app and Rockaway Recycling. Until next week when we will be returning live, I'll scrap you later.